This is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic.
What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, September the 5th, the day after my birthday. Always a bit of a letdown, but not really today. I'm in a good mood because we're talking Dynamite. Got a sweet crew hanging with me, the originals. Basically, WR Daily Broadcast originals in the building today. I'm going to start first out in Philadelphia. Just keep it in the United States for now. With a friend of mine, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you today, Anthony?
It's always fun to do a show like this, coming back to my old Thursday stomping grounds and to do this with this rascal group of people. So it's, I'm very much looking forward to the insanity that will ensue when we get together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we get started, speaking of insanity, no, I'm just kidding. I got to send it out to Scotland. Host of the Soul Sessions, good friend of mine as well. Soul, what's good?
Yeah. Considering me a WR Daily is like when you have a guy who's on the first season of a show, disappears, and then comes back as a guest star for a wee while. I mean, that's kind of my status, but I'll take it. It's nonetheless, buddy. But yeah, I want to say, obviously, first of all, congratulations, happy birthday to Mr. LA himself, Clark Taylor, my good old buddy, old pal. Hope you had a good old birthday and had a good old celebration as you rightfully deserve. But yes, good way to celebrate it. Day later, but better now than never. So hey, cheers to you, buddy.
Absolutely. Cheers, Soul. Thank you. I did. I did plenty of celebrating yesterday, without doubt. To be clear, I had a good old time for 33. We got some comments here. This one just not Rich Homie. R.I.P. Rich Homie Quan. Monster shout out to Shad, but Dynamite was dope, especially the ending. Absolutely. Number one Superfly friend of the show with hello. And then Soul, the new desk setup is incredible. Yes, absolutely. From Josh Markowitz.
Yes, a budget, ladies and gentlemen. Not I didn't just fish this out of a tip because my budget's so low, but yes, no longer I'm going to have spinal problems, so it's nice.
I thought you might have built it with your bare hands, to be honest. I wasn't sure. No tools at all.
Well, I mean, listen,
punching the nails into the
listen, he needs to be seen from the waist up. So, the budget could be cut at different points.
Perfect. It's perfect. We've also got Gypsy Duos with Hi on Instagram. But let's get into last night's Dynamite. A wild one on September 4th, a date we've seen All Out fall on, as we obviously talked about on yesterday's show. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, arguably the biggest heel in the business right this second, gets one over on Danny Garcia this time. Outsmarted him, caught him from behind. Soul, I got to ask you about it. You excited to see these two go out at it this weekend?
Main thing, first of all, is absolutely love the new presentation of Daniel Garcia. He's no longer got the multicolored dancing Titantron, which never really worked well for what he was trying to pursue. If this was obviously JAS Daniel Garcia, it works fine. It's kind of cocky, heelish way, but I could never really take him seriously with that stupid Titantron. But now he has a new one. Generic as it may be, yes, it's still better than the multicolored, so I'm happy with that. But with this promo from Danny, you felt ferocity. Like, this really felt like him making a statement of being here and ready to play the game sort of situation. MJF's MJF as always, but I loved it that Danny really took the insecurities of that. MJF's real arc right now is that he was the world champion and loved. He went away for a wee bit, and the kids got the new toys. Daniel Garcia is one of those new toys. Hopefully he can, break out with the pram, bash over MJF with the head, and get a win out of All Out. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed Danny's promo. It was what it was needed. Even the little bit at the end with the wine bottle being smashed over Danny's head, and MJF still remembering that snickering and sinister way he has with his voice, commanding Danny and then leaving him in a pool of his own blood. I really liked it. I really liked this presentation from Daniel Garcia, and I really hope to see a championship win for him, at least maybe going into the new year. Something like World's End, I think, would be very rewarding for him. You're muted, buddy. Has your old age, has the old age already hit you?
Yeah,
Oh, come
it's
on,
the
man.
old age. I was
Some
forgetful.
things don't change.
Honestly, I did a cop and drop into the pool yesterday when we got home from the golf course, and I kind of dinged my head. I don't know how he does that onto a human. I went just into the deep end of the pool. Rocked me. Bad idea. I'm too old for that. There's no doubt about it. But I love the point you made about Daniel Garcia's promo, and I think that's part of the reason it was so shocking that Max actually had him outsmarted. Is Garcia was on fire. You thought maybe this was more like his moment to get one over on Max, and then all of a sudden the rug was pulled out from under him. Made me even more excited for this match, and I really did like that. And then John said Garcia attacking his turkey trip. That's hilarious. And then take it to the table with "What's up, gang?" Chaos, his secretary in the building, and Josh.
Yeah,
Marco,
hang on there. I got beef with Chaos and his secretary throwing me in his little Berlin vlog without any repercussions or any monetary incentive. 2 cameos in that, mate. 2 cameos,
Two
and
cameos, strong cameos too.
Yeah, exactly. My amazing arms and amazing voice were not were shown on that vlog, and no compensation. Absolutely outrageous.
You were uncredited.
We've also got Josh Markowitz speculating on how the desk got here. He said he grabbed a few tools from the toolbox, threw on All Out 2021 in the background, and built that thing in 3 minutes with his bare hands. That's funny. I don't care who you are. That's golden, Josh. Anthony, I got to ask you about the Max and Daniel Garcia situation here. And are you excited for this match? I didn't expect a blood feud to be built in 2 weeks necessarily, but it really hasn't been 2 weeks. This does date back to, the original turn by Max, and it started to now all make sense how we got through not only All In, but now to All Out. That is a tongue twister. That's a lot of alls, so many vowels, but either way, I got to get your opinion on this situation and how excited you are for the match.
It's kind of funny because we were talking about this last year, Clark, because you were going to All Out. And I remember saying to you, it's weird with the short build. I almost think they're better, more solid cards at All Out than there are at All In. Weirdly. I mean, we'll see if they deliver, but this is one of those things where Daniel Garcia, I was not a big fan of the dance thing. And I've said that on here before. More serious Daniel Garcia, I like seeing it. However, I don't necessarily think he has the full confidence when he cuts a promo. This was better than last week's, because last week's made no sense at all. In the sense where, like, last week he was like, "Oh, I pawned your ring in Buffalo." Really? Was that before or after he left you on a stretcher? Like, did you stop on the way to the ambulance to get the ring and then pawn it on the way to the hospital? That made no sense, but that just annoyed me. I thought this was better. It was a more personal dig. Going at Max's appearance, pointing out the hair thing, which I think we all kind of noticed, but none of us do, like the turkey thing. I don't know if that's real or if that was an inside dig or whatever that was. I thought that was solid. I want to see that more believability, more of that aggression from Daniel Garcia. Like when he was running up, I wasn't too crazy about that. Like it didn't seem as realistic in the way he was running up there as opposed to somebody really getting mad that somebody's taking shots at your mother. But Max getting the upper hand that fits Max. Like that, you sit back, you wait for the babyface to come, and then the heel just takes you out because you're so blinded by rage. I'm completely fine with that. Honestly, I think if this was in Chicago, knowing Max and considering the day it was, I definitely think he would have been sitting up there eating Mindy's just as an inside dig, because I think that's what he would do, because his return was overshadowed by all that went on in 22. But I think this is a smart feud. If you want to get Garcia over, Max getting wins over Max helps Garcia. MJF beating Garcia, if you're going long term, I think Garcia needs to come out on top when this is all said and done. I don't know if this is going to be a one and done, if they're going to drag this out. AEW is kind of a mixed bag whether or not they drag things out. A lot of times it's one and done when they could probably go longer. But we'll see what happens with this. Mute again.
I got it again. We're good.
God, buddy, are you
We're
okay?
back.
Are you okay?
Don't
Do, you need
worry.
do we need to have a sit down, buddy?
I
Do we
am
need to have a
doing
sit
great.
down? Do we need
I
to get
think
your
I-
blue badge? Do we need to
I-
talk about retirement funds?
I'll take a deep breath, and if I'm muted again on this show, that's 3 strikes. One of you is going to have to take over hosting. I think that's the rules.
It's
No.
clearly
Thank you,
it's
Clark.
clearly
I'm
that
very
coffin
honored.
drop into the pool, Clark. It
I'm
was
just
clearly
telling
that.
you. At 33, coffin drop into the pool, not in the cards. It's probably my last one. So, I mean, at least those in attendance got to witness my final coffin drop yesterday because I'm done with that.
It's a
There
shame
are
that's not
other.
on video. I wouldn't
The
mind.
pool
mind
has
Yeah.
stairs. Like it
Yes,
has stairs.
we know,
A
Allison.
cannonball.
Yeah.
There's
We-
so
we
many
know-
options for getting in. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Darby Allin at 200 plus pounds at 33 years old. What a genius. Either way, I'm excited about this match. I agree with you on the ring punting thing was a bit of a miss because I think it could have been more impactful, but all good. The turkey trip joke as a fellow bald guy. Yeah, I took that one deeply personally, but that's, neither here nor there. I was looking for more specifics. Which doctor? How do you book the flights? How long's the recovery? But we didn't exactly get that last night. That's neither here nor there. Let's move on to something that we did get last night, though, which was a heck of a match between Okada and Kyle Fletcher. I've been critical of Kyle Fletcher. There is no doubt about it. But man, did I enjoy this one. Okada is about as good as you can ask bell to bell as far as professional wrestling is concerned. Kyle Fletcher went blow for blow with him for a heck of a lot longer than I expected. That was a really, really high quality match. I was impressed, even for a guy that's been critical of him. Will I continue to make fun of his haircut? Speaking of hair, absolutely. But Okada gets the win. I like what they've done with Okada since he's joined AEW. I think it parallels the Ospreay run in a perfect way. They've complemented each other. They haven't stepped on each other's toes because there were 2 big signings around the same time. They both occupied great spots on the card. Anthony, I want to get your thoughts on last night's match because I was really impressed by it.
Yeah, the thing with Okada is it's a controversial one because the New Japan diehards are like, this isn't our Okada. That's what they're saying. They're like, it's not the one. But I think one of the things that AEW did positively is they gave another layer to Okada, this comedy side, which if he was in WWE, they would have buried this if he was the foreign exchange student in NXT for Chase U. But because he's doing this with the Bucks, no one seems to have a problem with it, other than the diehards. But I was okay with it. Okada is a phenomenal in-ring talent. It takes time to get, the American audience to get behind somebody that if they don't follow New Japan. Like I didn't follow New Japan, but I knew who he was. I've seen enough of his matches over the years. But Fletcher is one, just like Clark. I don't really get the hype with this guy. I think he's talented, but he's not somebody that I would go out of my way to watch. I almost feel like in a lot of ways AEW treats him in the sense of this is knockoff Will Ospreay. He could do moves, but he's okay if we have him lose because that's what he does. He pretty much just loses. So I really don't know what the Don Callis family's really doing for him because he just loses to people. You knew going in he was going to lose, but like I've said previously on Thursday shows, AEW typically does have pretty good solid openers, and this was again another solid opener. But going into it, you knew there was no chance Fletcher was going to win it. I don't really know why he got a title shot. Like again, I don't watch Collision. Maybe it was on there, maybe it was on Rampage, but there really was no explanation of why he's getting a title shot against Okada.
It was at least set up over the weekend, to be clear on this.
Was it? Okay.
Yes,
That's-
it was.
That's fair.
This one was, but I do also hear where you're coming from. I mean, we got extra time on this segment. So did you have thoughts on Okada Fletcher as well? Because I do agree with a ton of what Anthony said. And there's an interesting comment here from Shad, which is Kyle Fletcher is a TV wrestler for sure, but they got to get the kid some character work or he's going to be in the Claudio Island. Yeah.
Yep.
That scares me a little bit.
He's a good hand.
Feel the same about that?
The thing is about the Claudio Island thing is like it's no knock on Claudio because the man's been successful. Think about
So
that whole week
good.
of All In. Cardiff literally had a time limit draw of Okada, which everybody loved on that whole show. Minus
It's not
Big
that
Bill.
long.
Go Big
It's
Bill.
not that long ago. He went over on Seth at Mania.
It's been a
Yeah,
few
but like,
years.
what did he do afterwards? He didn't really do it.
No, to your
much
point, he's been
afterwards.
successful everywhere he's
but-
gone.
No, of course, absolutely. But like, he went to then flew to Mexico City, did CML, won the tournament there, came back to London literally the next day and won the trios championships with Pac and Wheeler Yuta. Claudio's great in his own aspect, and he's a great hand to have. Fletcher, I think, obviously, is still the same. Obviously, for me, I've known Fletcher more as a tag team guy of Aussie Open with Mark Davis. Obviously, Mark Davis getting injured at Wrestle Dream last year really put a stamp on it, because I honestly feel like it was meant to be Aussie Open in the Dom Callis family to then maybe lead to things with Ospreay, reuniting these guys as a trio, and they could be their own little group and faction. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think Fletcher and Ospreay could reunite. If anything, I feel like with what we've seen with wrestling, and it's always the go-to, when it comes to the hometown, these wrestlers obviously get a bit of a bump, because obviously we've got AEW Grand Slam in Australia coming next year. I feel like that would be a big moment for Fletcher to shine, whether it's for a world champion shot, whether it's the Continental Champion, the International, the TNT. I definitely think Fletcher will get a shine on that show, and I really do hope he does, because he is a talented wrestler. And I do think he is also entertaining, because I've seen his New Japan stuff, and he is very entertaining. Is it the fact he's with Don Callis, who is such a heat magnet that it really drains his aspect and charm? Possibly. But we've also seen with Forbidden Door, Takeshita was probably the most over man in that TNT ladder match. A lot of people wanted to see him win. And Takeshita's done stuff in the G1. So maybe it's not a Don Callis factor. But I do think Fletcher is a great hand. I think he's a great wrestler. I would love to see him get a moment. Hopefully it's not just at Grand Slam. Heck, put him in the Continental Classic. We can maybe get a rematch of Okada. Because to my knowledge of the Continental, I in this new aspect, because obviously I remember in the inaugural version, if Eddie Kingston was pinned, he lost the Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong titles. We haven't heard
They're separate titles now, so I think that
I would imagine to be separate now. So maybe Fletcher could get a pin win over Okada in the Continental to show growth going into Grand Slam Australia. I think that would be interesting. Don't you maybe not have him win the whole Continental Classic? You could have Okada win it to cement his status, obviously G1 multiple-time winner. But somebody in AEW we've seen recently do well in the G1, as I mentioned, Takeshita and Okada, finals of the Continental Classic at World End. It can work. Then there are multiple ways you can take this. But then again, as always, Okada and Fletcher was a great opener to Dynamite.
I agree with all of that there. So, I mean, the biggest one that I think you made a great point about is Fletcher showing growth towards that Australia card, and the character work in that time is going to be key as well. Not just because we know he can go bell to bell. We do know that, right? He's definitely shown us that. This is a really interesting comment from Shad really quickly. He said, Takeshita looks like an absolute beast, and his facial expressions help a lot. He learned a ton in Japan regarding that. Also, this dude, since we first saw him on our TV screens here in the US, went from, and I'm going to make an American football reference, but he went from a safety to a linebacker. This man is huge. Whatever he's doing in the gym is working. It's really impressive. I mean, he bulked up like, not that he wasn't a big guy before, but man, he's physically imposing in a way now that I didn't actually read, I think, when I saw him debut a few years back.
I think him playing a heel helps too, because I think it's a lot easier to play a bad guy to get an audience to hate you than to get an audience to love you.
Yeah, that's true. We've also got in the comments here, Lord Virus of Nurgle over on Instagram with, hey guys. And then he said, well, Okada is a big draw. I think he's not being used to his best potential. I mean, his best potential is the world title. So I think if we're going just straight logics, yes. But I think they're doing a heck of a job with making sure he's still a draw and he's relevant and he's wrestling good matches and important matches. And
the thing about obviously Okada being a draw, he is definitely 100% a draw in Japan. Like, see when this Wrestle Dynasty card comes around next January, Okada will probably be the most over man in that whole goddamn show, because he has proven it multiple times with the Wrestle Kingdoms and the New Japans. State-wise, TV regular viewing audiences of TNT will probably not even know who Kazuchika Okada is. They might not even know how to pronounce his name. Die-hard fans will obviously know him. New Japan fans will get all tizzy up and then hang their United Empire flags where they're all angry he's not being used properly or something like that. But he's still great in his own aspects. But American aspect-wise, I don't think massive draw.
You also have to consider that for the majority of people that have held the AEW world title have been world champions elsewhere. So their focus is really going to try to be focused on getting their own people in that spot to be a world champion as opposed to just a former champion somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think that's a definitely fair assessment. But speaking of somewhere else, if you're looking for more wrestling content, not just ours, but a bunch of other people's, but mostly ours, head over and check out our friends at Next Level. Go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all of our content across all platforms. Linked in the same place. Super convenient, absolutely free to download. Check it out. You're gonna love it. But let's keep it rolling. Let's keep discussing Dynamite. We've got a doozy of a subject here. Mariah May defending against former champion Nyla Rose, the AEW Women's World Title. This booking decision was criticized. Definitely on this platform. On the Daily, it was criticized. And I gotta admit, I think they over-delivered. Mariah May is that entertaining. The match was really good. Nyla Rose looked really strong in a loss. Took the Storm Zero perfectly. Mariah May playing the absolutely just the mean girl of AEW in every sense of the word. And I love it. She went on the post-championship tour too, show to show, and absolutely delivered all week. She is such a heel. It's perfect to me. And this match did over-deliver. Soul, would you agree with that assessment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we know, at Wrestling Republic, David Sheldon has been doing his project on women's wrestling timings, seeing how they get on week to week. And I decided to do my own little Soul report, my own little in knowledge of timings of the women's matches. And look, and this is the most time women's have been given this week. More than Raw, more than NXT at 10 minutes and 28. So they got a good showing. Double digits, great showing. And they absolutely brought it. Nyla Rose, obviously, is the second AEW Women's Champion. Her reign really did get hindered, along with Shida's, because of the global shutdown in 2020. Nyla, it's interesting because obviously Nyla and Marina Shafir were really stuck together with Vicky Guerrero and never really advanced. And in 2 weeks, Marina Shafir has had an absolute character overhaul. And I've seen from the internet side, at least, a lot of people are now interested in this because it's going somewhere. But Nyla's always been stuck, obviously, as the native beast, while she's done other great things like writing a Marvel comic and is also just generally amazingly funny on social media. And I think that's something we really need to capitalize on, because obviously she had that feud with Athena, where she was also very entertaining. I would like to see maybe more of that funny comedic side of Nyla Rose gets to be showcased, would be really amazing. But obviously, people saying having problems with this championship match being announced, obviously no real build, no real story. In my mindset, what I like to see from champions is I like to see champions have a lot of defenses, right? If I'm going to research somebody and I see, this person held a women's world championship or a world championship for 200 or even 100 days, right? I like to go in their little cage match profile and see all the defenses, like, they did this, it was this match stipulation. If I go into somebody's championship profile cage match and I see they held the belt for 200 days and maybe 2 defenses, yeah, maybe if the stories in those 2 defenses were superb and immaculate, I mean, it's a long shot, but if they make up for it, then okay, cool. But I like seeing a working champion, a defending champion that's going to be on the TVs and the pay-per-views a lot, doing what they should be doing as a champion. And I think with Mariah May, especially, her name is the Glamour. Glamour likes to show off. It likes to be presented. It likes to be showcased to the millions and millions. So why not be that show off and just be a fighting champion? Because, again, going to Grand Slam, we've seen Tony Storm's going over to do press, do the rematch there. Should Tony win? Maybe not. Maybe have it that the new star pupil, the new shining woman of AEW is truly better than the old classic original. But nonetheless, great women's match. I really enjoyed it. it got 10 minutes and 28 seconds, the most out of the week. So whatever we see from maybe David's updated report, maybe it's a step in the right direction. And, Raw, you got to pick it up, boys. 3 hours. Come on. 3 hours. I've had enough Apple Jacks adverts for one day, or I don't know. What do you have? Jack in the Box? Is that an
Honestly,
thing?
Both are Apple Jacks and Jack in the Box. I prefer Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box is a Clark thing.
It's always bothered me that Apple Jacks don't taste like apples. Makes no sense to me.
Was it more of a tangerine place?
No, it's just like a flavor. Like there's no apple. It's just a name. Like they used a fruit that's not involved.
Clark, we don't have enough time for this.
I mean, I could spend the rest of my life on why do Apple Jacks not taste like apples? It makes zero sense to me.
That's for the spin-off series, Wrestle Republic Investigates. We have a lineup for that.
It's not
Stay
even.
tuned,
I was
boys.
also
We'll find out why there's no apples in Apple Jacks.
I was gonna say, when do we get Glamorous by Fergie for a special Mariah Mann? GLA. Oh man, the all time. I'm ready for it. That's all I'm saying. Okay, we've got something we got to talk about here, guys, and not to change things, but just to be serious here.
Arson
for a second. Yeah, don't bury the lead. Hangman Adam Page committed a crime. And I understand it's Florida and they let things go in Florida. But I don't understand how you get arrested for jaywalking. But if you burn somebody's house down, you get a cage match. That is tough. Now, on the flip side of that, the image of Hangman Page sitting, technically, which was actually even colder to me. He brought a chair to watch it burn down or like listen to it burn down.
And liquor.
He was like, I'm going to sit here. Where were the neighbors?
He didn't even look at it. Yeah.
No, so either way, the net of it is Hangman Page went to Swerve's childhood home and burnt it to a crisp, to the ground. Swerve in the ring sold it perfectly. I absolutely actually loved it. This was supposed to be a blood feud. This is supposed to be a blood feud. This is a blood feud. Arson aside, I want to see these guys rip each other's heads off this weekend. I am most excited about that. And it was an impactful way to end AEW. It was something that we definitely didn't expect. And it was something that we definitely will never forget. He burnt his childhood home down. I don't know how they did all of that, green screens or whatever. We're not even going to get into that part of it. I thought Swerve definitely going over Hangman this weekend. That changed last night for me. It changed last night for me. And I'm super curious, both of you guys' picks. I'm going to start with you, Anthony, on this one. For this cage match and what your thought is on criminal arson.
Obviously against, but it is funny, Clark, because I would have messaged you last night, but I knew you were at dinner. I messaged Kobe around 8:30 my time, and that's when they showed the Swerve buying the house thing, and I literally messaged Kobe and said they are totally going to burn Swerve's house down tonight. Hangman's burning it down. And then sure enough, that's exactly what happened. It is one of those things where, by the way, somebody pointed out online, which I thought was tremendous. You knew it wasn't his real house they burned down. You know the legal trouble AEW would have been in for that. But somebody pointed out and went, really? You know how dirty he is? He took out the shrubs, the tree, and moved the chimney before he burned the house down. Personally, I think they probably did it at a soundstage, probably Warner Brothers, maybe a soundstage is probably where they burned it. But visually, that's tremendous. And, is it realistic? No, in the sense that obviously there's legal ramifications. There'd be a nightmare for AEW to deal with, not only Hangman. But, heated rivalries, as fans, you live vicariously through them. Austin McMahon. You want to beat up your boss, but you can't actually do it. You really hate your rival. You'd love to burn their house down. 99% of the people don't actually do that. So Hangman was able to do that. We've seen it before. Randy Orton burned down the Wyatt house. So it has happened in wrestling, but the visual is just tremendous. And like you said, how cold it was. He's not even looking at the house burning behind him. He's just relaxing on a chair, drinking. Like, that's cold. And the fact that, like, this is the first time really in this rivalry where they're in a heated type of match. And I know they've wrestled since the other two, but it's reversed. Hangman's the heel this time, and Swerve's the babyface. So it is different. Them in a cage, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's and it has to be. This type of rivalry needs it. One of the disputes that was in the chat, Clark, you probably didn't say it, was that AEW is like, it's a lights out, unsanctioned steel cage match. And I'm like, unsanctioned and lights out mean the same thing. It's a little overbooked with the name. There are no rules in a cage match. I get it. It's going to be extreme. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Whether this continues, that's the other thing, because they've had two already and Swerve's up 2-0 as far as those. And then the other one was the draw, wasn't it? The third one was a draw.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hangman's never beaten him.
Right.
So, but Hangman's the heel too. So it's kind of weird, because usually in these scenarios, it's usually the babyface hasn't gotten the win over the heel. This is weird. This is not the normal feud. You know what I mean?
You bring up a fascinating point there, and I want to touch on that myself, Anthony, because throughout this storyline, I've enjoyed every match, and there's so much chemistry between Swerve and Hangman. Yeah. I'm willing to look at it like this. The turns and the ebbs and flows, it is a concise story if you take away, like, I don't want to say we're conditioned to think heel babyface, but in wrestling, it's very much a part of the game, right? And it's something that crosses our mind often. In this one, I think it's beautiful the way they've gone about. Swerve can be sinister. He's almost a tweener. He has driven Hangman crazy. The way that Hangman poured the gasoline, so nonchalant, absolutely did not care. No, this isn't your right. You're done speaking about my home. I'm going to take away your home. He drove him to the brink of insanity, right? And then questioning like the manhood and the protecting his family type stuff too. Hangman hasn't necessarily even been able to express how upsetting that has been to him throughout this. So as much as, yes, he is the heel in this scenario right this second, that's relatable too. I mean, the whole story is it's almost like one of those movies that's like nobody wins. It's
one of those scenarios where really, when you look at the root of it, they're both heels. I mean, it starts with Swerve invading Hangman's house, hovering over his child's crib. Yes. That's not likable. That's not a face. Like, it's still the same person, and it's not like he went on a redemption tour. So there really are both heels, and it's just fun as fans seeing, like, essentially two bad guys just beat each other up, essentially.
Yes. Well, and I think connecting the dot of Swerve being the one that drove Hangman. Hangman to this stage was key. I'm going to you next here, Sol, but we do have a couple comments. Lord Virus of Nurgle added, Anthony, I think it could plausibly happen if it was agreed between parties and the local authorities. No. I hate to say this.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but no.
We're not burning a house down in a residential neighborhood. No. Even in Florida, as much as I joked about that.
Yes.
Even in Florida, they're not doing that.
It's not getting permission for a block party. You're not getting everyone to sign a petition to block the street.
Florida State is 0-2, and we haven't even seen that happening in Tallahassee right now. And then he said, "Will Hangman beat Swerve, or is Swerve winning this?" So that's what I'm going to direct to you. Who do you have going over?
So first of all, TK said on the all-out media conference going on there that he's had to pay off the authorities to let Hangman wrestle. So we've got our kayfabe answer, boys. But nonetheless, why is everybody sorry for Swerve? This is what he wanted. This goes back longer than Swerve invading Hangman's home. This goes back to Wrestle Dream, when Swerve interrupted Hangman on Dynamite and said, "Look at you now. You used to be a champion, and now you're a wuss. I want the old Hangman back. I want the Hanger. I want the cowboy shiznits back. I want that back." And Swerve is pushed and pushed and tormented, and now he's getting the repercussion of his words. This is all Swerve's fault. Hangman's the hero. Swerve's just the bad guy who pushed the hero too much. You pushed him by saying he was a weak champion. You push him by saying he's not integral to AEW's integrity. You push him by going to his family's home and tormenting his child. You then stalk him and his pregnant wife before her giving birth. You then make a mockery of the man. You gain the champion and gain the love of the people that this man had before. This is all your fault. You lost your childhood home because you poked the bear and the bear fought back. This is Hangman giving Swerve what he wanted. He's giving Swerve the Hangman that Swerve wanted to face in the ring. The one that he wanted to face eye to eye with and have that ferocity and torment back. Swerve got what he wanted, and he's going to then lose it all in the steel cage match on Saturday because Hangman is now unleashed. You don't have a normal sense man set fire to a childhood home while sipping a bottle of Jack Daniels and in a nice recliner it looks like it's from IKEA. No sensible man does that, and I love it. This is my favorite feud of the year, and I know other people are going to say Punk and McIntyre, Cody Rhodes and The Rock's ego. Look, it's this for me because it's not just fighting about a bracelet or booking. It's fighting about the integrity. Hangman's home getting invaded into. Hangman having such a desired hatred for a man that he doesn't say his name until the promo after All In. Even in the Blood and Guts match, Hangman doesn't even want to team with the Elite. He teams with the Elite after he loses his chance at the Owen to get to Swerve. He does it all just to get to this guy, just to make him suffer because he poked the bear and the bear's fighting back. Swerve is just getting his go-to desserts for this.
I think you bring up an amazing point. Swerve punched his own ticket. I didn't think of it that way. This whole thing started by he wanted that Hangman. And that's how we got here in the first place. So you are sincerely onto something there. We've got Scarlett in the comments with hello, mister. What's going on, Scarlett? And then also I wanted to add to this. Interesting factor, steel cage match. Will we see the cage that was used for Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa where there is space outside of the ring? Because if not, can Hangman deliver a buckshot lariat? And I think that's going to be an interesting factor in this match.
I would assume they would use the one so that he could do that. That's his signature move.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
He's done it off the back of referees before. In the match against Lance Archer, he did it off the back of a referee.
That is a great point. Remember when when the top rope broke? How did he do it again? He did it differently. That wasn't against Archer. That's the same match. It was the middle rope.
Yeah, he did a buckshot lariat by rolling on top of a referee's back, hitting the buckshot lariat. Lance Archer went for a table and couldn't get up for the 10 in the Texas Death Match.
That's exactly right. That's the same match. We're talking. Yeah, we're on the same page there. By the way, one of the most underrated Hangman Page matches. I think that
I love the one where he crucifies Adam Cole. That was a banger.
The dead eye through the table.
No, he crucifies him. Literally puts him in like the whole Sandman position on the ring. That
basically was did, yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean,
I love Hangman. Hangman's amazing. Like, Hangman is just so awesome. I don't know why people hate on him. He's amazing.
I think he's underrated as could be, and I also think part of Hangman's brilliance is, a lot of people don't know his background. The guy is so high IQ. Former math teacher. He graduated full graduation. I mean, this is like you're taking 18 units in America at university from Virginia Tech University in 2 years.
He's a school teacher. Imagine if you were one of his pupils and you just see your teacher in front of somebody's childhood home burn it up, and you're like, damn, he used to grade my math pages. Damn. Oof.
But I do really love also how you can see it bleeds into his characters. He's very, cerebral, psychological. And I think in some ways, mental health aware. He's played the anxious. He's played the now delusional. The way that he can ebb and flow with his character, but then be the likable guy. It's very cerebral the way he goes about his character work, and I think that's something that gets overlooked with Hangman Page often. He tells great stories when it comes to the Elite, Kenny Omega, all of that. He's a very, very good storyteller. Shad added, he's cool. He's just from a horrible part of Virginia. He said, I'm from the best part of the VA, the 703. That's hilarious. Monster
Well,
shout
a funny
out.
thing, obviously, with Hangman's what's funny thing with Hangman's history as well is you look at the current AEW World Champion Bryan. They currently have a 1-0-1 record, 1 win for Hangman and a draw. So I mean, I would love to see Bryan and Hangman run it back, and I think this version of Hangman is so interesting and amazing that him as world champion in this state could be very interesting. But the only thing is obviously Bryan stated that when he loses the title, it's the end of his full-time career. You kind of want to elevate somebody from that, and I don't think this version of Hangman needs it.
Hopefully, this version. Hopefully, if he does win it again, it's better than the first one because the first one was not good.
I think he was too much of a babyface to have a really long run.
It didn't work. Yeah.
But either way, that does actually bring us to the end of the show, my friends. It's been a blast. Happy Thursday. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's noon Pacific, 8 o'clock over in the UK, 3 Eastern, and of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. On behalf of me, Soul, Anthony, and everybody at WR, thank you so much for tuning in. We got all kinds of content coming up this weekend around All Out and everything in between. If you haven't already smashed like and subscribe, please do. It helps us out a ton, and we really appreciate it. But most of all, have a great Thursday, and we will talk to everybody soon.